welcome to the show. We're the Harrises. We've got Chris Harris Jr., Super Bowl champion. We've got Shelby Harris, current player with the Cleveland Browns, and myself, Ryan Harris, Super Bowl champion, along Chris Harris Jr. Well, boys, let's get it started early. Let's talk about the two-game Monday Night Football. First, do we like it? Second, what'd you think of the game?
Yeah, I think the game, I was definitely glad that they had two games last night, right? Even though I don't like the formula as a former player, right? But nobody was watching the Dolphins game. You know, everybody was probably locked into that Lions game just because, you know, those are two playoff teams, contending teams, them in Seattle. They always kind of have some great battles, great games. And, you know, nobody wants to watch a Dolphins team that has, you know, they're not going to go in the playoffs. They're pretty much done with two out. And there's just, you know, it's not very exciting to watch Tyreek Hill, you know, when he's not getting the ball. So I'm glad that they had two games on last night for sure.
Man, but let
me ask you this real quick. What do y'all think it's like for Tyreek Hill right now? I mean, these are your prime years, you know, and you're down a quarterback. I mean, are you just more concerned about your teammate, or is there some frustration building?
You got to be frustrated. You got to be frustrated that, you know, you're going into your age 30 year and you're not getting the ball the way you expected to get the ball. And Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle who's barely getting the ball. He still doesn't even have a touchdown yet. So the offense is just sputtering in general. They haven't scored a touchdown in a while until the fourth quarter with Huntley's QB draw. But you know, you gotta, if you're on that offense, you know, you can't be happy. I'll just say that. You cannot be happy.
Right, because, you know, these are kind of like those prime years where he's really trying to break records, you know, trying to go for those 2,000 yards and things like that. So this is definitely going to be kind of those wasted years for him, right? And those suck, right? Because it's going to be hard for him to get All-Pro. It's going to be hard for him to go Pro Bowl. You know, a guy like Tyreek Hill, you know, he could come out of nowhere, though, and have a 3-game stretch where he just goes bananas. You know, he just has a 3-game stretch with 200 yards per game. You know, he's capable of doing that, right? But, you know, it's just hard right now for that team, especially when they have their division is pretty much wide open, right? I don't think there's no clear-cut best team in that division other than probably people might say the Bills, but, you know, I think the Bills just are – they still got to prove more to me, you know, with losing all those weapons and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Dolphins. I think they're pretty much done. They might as well trade their best assets. I would try to get some first-round picks. Hopefully you can try to get a quarterback next year because they need to start looking towards the future.
Well, I say fire the GM. How do you not have a backup quarterback that can help win you games, that can activate Tyreek Hill, that can activate Jalen Waddle? You got to do it. It's like not having a backup defensive end or backup corner. Hey, look, everybody hopes you're healthy, but come on, let's plan for the reality, right? You're going to need somebody to get you some games. And so, you know what I mean? Just like Miami doesn't know what's going on, and people are still asking, hey, is Tua coming back? That staff should never let him come back and should never let a GM who doesn't have a capable backup quarterback keep his job. That's unacceptable behavior. That's not how you win. So let's turn to the other game, though. We'll start with you, Shelby. Let's talk about the Lions and the Seahawks. Jared Goff went 18 for 18 with 2 tutties and a reception. Whoop! I mean, where do you want to begin?
Man, it's just that's the potential of that Lions offense. You know, if you're able to run the ball, you know, hit all your throws. Saw Tim Patrick signing out there. My dog going crazy, doing, you know, finally getting his feet under him again in the new offense. And, you know, that's the efficiency of the Detroit Lions offense when it's clicking. But you got to give a shout out to, you know, to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are looking like a completely different team than what they did last year. You know, defense is playing fast, run like all over the place, fast, making plays. And, you know, Jared Goff did what he had to do, but, you know, Seattle really pushed him to the brink. And, you know, this is, you know, it might be a matchup you might see later on, you know, especially with the 49ers in the position they are, the Rams over there struggling. And then, you know, obviously, you know, the Cardinals aren't there yet, but, you know, this might be a matchup you see later on in the year.
I thought that
Right.
same thing. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it's always, these teams always have good games, and I think the Seattle's been kicking their butt the last 3 years, I think. So it's been pretty lopsided the last couple of years. So that was a bigger game for the Lions. And they're at home. They're in the all black. They got to win that game. That's a must win, right? Especially on Monday night with the blackout. So we knew that they were going to come with that energy. And the Lions have so many weapons. Right, you got Jameson, you got Montgomery at the running back, Laporta, St. Brown. Now you add Tim Patrick. Right, they're very capable of putting up 40 to 30 points every week. With those guys. So it's just Jared Goff bringing it together, and when they do that, like they did last night, it's always tough. It's always tough to beat those guys.
And I want everybody who's playing the game at quarterback to understand that Jared Goff only threw 18 passes and had 18 completions and beat the brakes off a playoff caliber team. So I love the performance for the game of football. You know what I'm saying? Just like everyone wants to throw 35, 45 times. Well, how about you throw 18 times and win because you run the ball? You don't turn the ball over. You're incredibly accurate. Like that was like Jared Goff's not going to be the most prolific, talented quarterback just by his tools. But the fact that he's worked into a performance like that, I mean, I was like, man, maybe Shohei Ohtani's inspiring these cats because everybody's playing at another level. I mean, I've never in my 10-year NFL career did I have a quarterback not have an incompletion. Like that's insane, let alone to have more touchdowns than incompletions and to have more touchdown receptions than incompletions. I mean, what are we talking about? This is a whole nother level.
Man, but let's talk
about – and again, I love Shelby, you're talking about the run game. I mean, David Montgomery is balling. Has been balling. Let's be clear. This is nothing new for his skill set. But man, that's a dangerous Lions team. And I also thought about, as Shelby said, that's probably another matchup. There's something fun too to being on a team if you're the Seahawks. And yeah, you lost the game, but now it turns into, we're going to get him back in January. I mean, that's a fun place to be as a team. Not a lot of teams can say that when they lose, right? So that aspect of it, that's going to be fun to see play out as well.
Man, but what happens when there's two good Monday night games? And that's a disservice to the fans. When you have two legit Monday night games that you want to watch and you have to flip back and forth, you're just going to keep missing stuff. It's just not fair. Monday nights is supposed to be for one game. All of America is supposed to be watching one game. It's supposed to be all eyes on you. Granted, the last 2 weeks, we've had one garbage game, one good game. But once again, that may not keep happening. What happens when there's two great games on TV and you have to be forced to pick one of them?
Right. Or start them at started like an hour and 30 minutes before or something. Like spread it out a little bit. Maybe that might work, but like Shelby said, we want it's prime time, right? You want it to be all eyes on you. So I don't like it as a player, but if we have two trash games or one trash game like that, then it works out. If we have two good games, we're going to be flipping back and forth. Like Shelby said, we're going to miss it. So it definitely has some negatives. But I wonder how many games scheduled like this they have for the rest of the year.
Yeah, as a player, I hate it. I mean, prime means one, right? Only have one game, prime time. Now they want prime time television. I get that. And, where's the players union in this? Separate conversation. But as a player, you want to be the final say. That's what it really comes down to. As a player, you have a final say as to what that week of football was. But the truth is, as a product, Monday Night Football has been struggling, especially compared to Thursday night, right? Thursday night, we're kicking off football for the weekend. Monday night, those games are set in stone, and sometimes you have injuries, right? Like, perfect case. You had two injuries between coming into the game with the Dolphins and then Will Levis for the Titans. I mean, you're watching a product on Monday night that has no starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So the product of Monday Night Football hasn't been the same, and that's why I think we're seeing these double headers. And for a fan, great. Yeah, they love it. For us dads, hey, we got time for one game. We can't do two games on Monday night. You know what I'm saying? So I just hope that they go back to one and let the players enjoy the right that they've earned to be the only game on in prime time.
Man, is it the demise? Do you guys think it's the demise of the great team? Is there any more certified number one, bona fide number one team anymore? The last couple years, obviously, even last year, when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, it was a bunch of ugly wins. And it was just nobody expected it out of them anymore. But no one can count Patrick Mahomes out. But now, it's the same thing. We have the Vikings who, granted, they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But does anyone really think of them as Super Bowl contenders? And then you look at everyone else, and you still look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are grinding out some ugly wins. They got injuries all over the place. But is there a bona fide number one? Is there the great teams anymore?
And no, I don't think it. It's always those juggernaut teams, right? And I would still put, we kind of talked about this last week. Chiefs are still they're still a juggernaut team, right? They're still undefeated. You got to beat the man, right? Hey, and nobody's beating him right now, man. Yeah. So and Mahomes, even though he's not playing his best, he's still doing a job to be able to get them dubs. Their defense is playing at a high level. They had with Chris Jones and all that. He woke up last week.
Yeah.
Right? So it's there. You would have to say they're the bona fide dominant team, even though the wins aren't dominant, right? They're not just blowing teams out. And that's usually like that in the NFL, right? There's rarely a lot of blowouts or 3 or 4 score games. That really doesn't happen in the NFL. A dominant team is you win the game, right?
Yeah.
You just win every week.
Yeah.
Right? And the Chiefs have been able to do that. And I hope somebody knocks them off, right? I don't want to keep seeing KC win every year. I'm a KC hater. I'll raise my hand and put it up there, But we hope somebody emerges and able to knock them off. Hopefully, the Ravens can ride that wave of what they've been doing the last 2 weeks. Finally sticking to that run game and hopefully they can be a dominant team. So right now, there's no dominant team in the NFL. I would say there's a KC is the best team in the NFL.
I do say there's a dominant team, and it is Kansas City. First of all, love the Chiefs, love my year at the Chiefs, and even more grateful they let me go. They didn't re-sign me so I could go win a Super Bowl with Chris Harris Jr. You know what I'm saying? That was a fun little, it's a fun little, okay, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like, hello, thank you, okay?
Yes, sir.
The thing people miss about the Kansas City Chiefs is that everybody has talent in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs are willing to win a game any way they need to. Maybe it is Chris Jones waking up, right? With Shelby, you got to tell us how that happens. I always wondered that with D. Lyman. I'm like, man, I know this guy's a monster. What's he doing? Wait until week 6, right? But they're willing. And the biggest difference between winning and losing in the NFL is willingness. Are you willing to eke out that extra yard? Are you willing to take the space? Are you willing to pay attention Friday night in meetings and take an extra couple of notes? Are you willing to go out early Sunday and work on a couple of different techniques and just be completely focused in? Nobody is willing to beat the Chiefs. That's the truth. Nobody's willing to do that. They're not willing to do the little things, play in, play out for 4 quarters, and the Chiefs are. And you want it now they're undefeated. I mean, come on, man. You with the record they have, it's only going to get harder to beat them, right? And it's unfortunate they lost with Rashee Rice. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes feels terrible. I don't know if y'all see that hit when they took out his knee. I mean, whoa, that was brutal. And Travis Kelce hasn't woken up either yet. You think that they got some plays for him, So I love the Chiefs in terms of what they show in their willingness to win a football game. And shockingly, though, you got to look out for the Vikings. I mean, 4-0 is 4-0. Now, it feels like a lot of those early Shanahan teams that go 4-0, right? I know Shanahan's not the coach of the Vikings, but O'Connell comes from that tree, that kind of Shanahan tree. Oftentimes they start 4-0, and then they'll end, 9-7, things like that. So the question for the Vikings in the NFC is, can they continue? And how come we're not talking about the Eagles? That's another question.
Man, I just think you have to some people get it misconstrued. The dominating, number one team, the great teams, they don't have to win by 30 points. They don't have to win by 21 points. A win is a win in this league. When you're playing your worst and you win by 1 point, it's still better than losing by 7. And winning by 1 is still the same in the win column as winning by 30. Is 1-0. And
Right.
the Chiefs constantly keep finding a way to go 1-0 every week. And, I always say this, whenever you have a quarterback in this league, you have a chance. And as long as they have Mahomes, they have a chance to be great every week.
Yeah. Their offense is gonna hurt though without Rice. He's a playmaker inside. He has the ability to run those option routes. A lot of those routes that Kelsey used to run, Rice has been running those in those spots. If you know the KC offense, put him in the slot, put him at the 3 and the 2, and he's running a lot of the Kelsey routes. So that's gonna be a huge loss for him because that was kind of their safety valve. He's becoming that safety guy for Mahomes. Why Kelsey, has been locked up.
I think he was like 47% of their offense so far this year. I mean, that's a lot, man. That's taking, Klay Thompson away. I mean, this is a major piece,
Yeah, he's a major piece. And then you got Hollywood Brown that's hurt. You got Isaiah Pacheco that's hurt. So the offense is going to take a hit. But KC, I think they understand how to play, play game manager, run the football, kind of change it up. They're not a winner every different style, like Ryan's saying, and play smart defense because they're not going to be as explosive as they were offensively with those 3 guys out there on the field. So if I'm KC right now, they're trying to get healthy. Maybe look for a draft. Maybe look for a trade. Maybe go find a veteran guy that's out there.
Call up Miami. Call Miami.
Amari Cooper. He's not getting the ball as much. Maybe they call him.
Man, leave Cooper alone.
Leave Cooper alone. GM over here. You can't be getting selfish.
We're just looking
now,
for some
Shelby.
options, man. DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe he goes over there. KC's gonna be looking for a receiver if I'm them because you got to have somebody that can kind of replace Rice and what he does because that's a huge piece on the offensive side.
Man, Xavier Worthy's going to have to step up. This is his time.
Yeah.
With all these receivers with Hollywood and Rashee Rice going down, this is why you get drafted in the first round. It's time to go out there and show them what you do.
Right. And let's go into it, man. The dominant defense performance of the Broncos versus the Jets this weekend. Right. I knew it was going to be a tough matchup going to New York, and then they stayed away from Denver for 2 weeks. I'm glad I was never a part of having to do that as a player, traveling and having to stay away from home for
West
2 weeks.
Virginia. Yeah, they stayed.
I was there for camp.
Yeah.
I was there for camp.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's a terrible place.
Yeah, see, nobody wants to stay out there. So, baby, I'm glad they had some camaraderie, some team building, right? But how'd y'all feel about the Broncos, man? Bo Nix only threw for 60 yards, right? But they were able to go into New York and get a win 10-9. It was an ugly win. They played great defense. But how do y'all feel about the Broncos going down to New York and getting the job done?
Vance Joseph. Thank you. Vance Joseph, because Bo Nix, that was not enough. I'm just telling you that was not enough. But Vance Joseph, and I'll say another name. Obviously PS2, was out there doing his thing. But Zach Allen's been having an all-pro season. He's been out here. He's up there in the league in pressures. He's getting his hits. He's being disruptive. But Vance, what he's done to this defense, and lack of the offense that he's been given, it's the defense, has been tremendous. And if they keep this up, you're going to start hearing Vance Joseph's name again for head coaching jobs because these performances he's putting out. Obviously it's a team game. Everyone, complimentary football, but against Aaron Rodgers and the weather obviously was a factor. But man, that defense. When have you seen Aaron Rodgers look like that before? He had him flustered. He didn't know where the pressure was coming. One of the first play, Justice Trinag gets a sack on a blitz where Aaron Rodgers had no clue he was coming.
Yeah,
what I mean. It's just Vance is he's calling a great game, and so it's just Vance is picking up the slack for where the offense needs to, but you got to give it to him. They're finding ways to win, and that's what we just talked about. That's the name of the game in the league.
Well, I love that you brought up the players because That's why there are good coaches. Good coaches only happen when there are great players put in a great position. And
Yeah.
absolutely, Patrick Surtain, to me, cemented in week 4 his ability to go to the Pro Bowl again. I mean, he's knocking down crossing routes, balls coming out fast, and not just the open receiver. You guys play defense. You know better than me. The ball placement that Aaron Rodgers has is unlike any other quarterback in the NFL. It's almost like you have to guard against 2 receptions because you can have somebody covered. He'll throw it, your arm's up, he'll throw it underneath your arm and things like that. So,
Yeah.
Patrick Surtain, I'm with you 100%, Shelby. Zach Allen has been balling. And you add to that the sack at the end of the game, towards the end of the game by P.J. Locke. And they really fought off. They fended off Aaron Rodgers twice. Look, this Broncos team beat 2 playoff teams in terms of playoff caliber teams. You beat Tampa Bay on the road against a team that was in the playoffs last year, and you beat the Jets on the road, who this year they say could win the Super Bowl. Now, what is happening on offense? You had multiple receptions. At one point, Bo Nix is throwing – he had multiple attempts, and he had negative passing yards. What are we talking about here? Like, get the ball downfield. You can't run the ball one week and not run it the other. So the offense has to figure some things out because that's an issue, and specifically on third down now is an issue for the Broncos, and you got to practice it more. I mean, I don't know what you guys did on defense, but the best coaches I had, if we had an issue on red zone or third down, man, you're practicing extra in those areas. So excellent win for the Broncos. The defensive players have been fantastic. Vance Joseph's earning himself another head coaching spot righteously, and the offense better pick it up.
Right. Yeah, Vance. Shout out to Vance. You know, playing multiple defenses, very aggressive. You know, Broncos lead the league in blitzes, you know, and pressuring. So he's right there with Brian Flores, right? He's like, hey, Brian Flores is, you know, these guys are turning their aggressiveness to 90%, right? Mm-hmm. They're coming at all times. And I think it's, you know, it's smart. You know, that's a good identity to have, is that I'm going to be aggressive. But you got to have some guys on the back end to be able to hold up. And the back end's been doing that. I love the pickup with Brandon Jones from getting him from Miami.
Wow.
That was a nice pickup. You know, everybody was mad. I was even mad, you know, let Justin go, you know, but hey, you got to give credit to the GM. You know, Brandon Jones has been balling.
Yeah.
Right. And he can tackle. He's been playing solid in coverage. His role just fits perfect with what Vance wants to do. So I like that pickup and what they've done. Zach Allen's been a monster. Nobody's been able to block this guy. Definitely should be all pro. The only thing that's hurting him is his run defense, is what I've been seeing. He's been charted as negative on the run defense, or not so good on the run defense. But other than that, you know, John Franklin Myers, that was a big pickup. He's been, you know, he was dogging the Jets. You know, that's his old team. You know, so he had to go out there and kill them. You know, Malcolm Roach. They just got a nice rotation. And, you know, Cooper, he's trying to go get paid. So it's a nice rotation that they got up front, man. And with the way Vance Joseph is calling the game, it's making it tough every week on teams. And like you said, we need something out of the offense. Right? Third down efficiency is very bad right now. I don't know what they rank, but I know they're in the 20s, the far 20s. You know, passing yards, explosiveness. We're not an explosive team, right? So, or the Broncos are not an explosive team. So that's something that they got to be able to figure it out, especially as we continue to go on the season, because it just gets harder and harder, as we know, as former players.
Well, then you guys play defense. Tell me this. When a receiver or a tight end starts motioning and slows down as they're getting to the end of the line, what's coming? You know what I mean? Like the basic motions. Come on. You know, the basic motions that they're running, you're giving the plays away. Now you watch the 49ers, I don't know where the ball's going, right? You got a motion across, all of a sudden the slot motion's out and the ball snap. Like that's how you do motion in 2024. But you picked up on something, Chris, I want to talk to you guys about, because everybody has this question in the NFL. Is the Vikings defense under Brian Flores sustainable? Because I, as an offensive player, I'm saying, hey, bring that pressure. You know, we're going to figure out where it is. We're going to get some generic rules if we don't know, but we're going to run some split runs. I don't know if that kind of aggressive defense survives weeks 9 through 17. But you guys tell me, you play defense.
You want to go? You want to answer that, Shelby?
Yeah, I think it can be. It's just you have to keep being exotic. You got to keep switching your looks up. You can't let a veteran QB figure out what you're doing, because then, that's when they just start chopping you up. That's where Aaron Rodgers, that's where Pat Mahomes, that's where Matt Stafford, that's where they do get you. It's because are you trying to do too much? Are you trying to roll your defense and bring the safety and then drop everybody else on the other side? Like what are we doing here? But, as long as you have, that spontaneity, that as long as you just have that different type of defense where, they're bringing pressure from all over. You don't know who's coming. But as long as, those great quarterbacks, they can just tell by your stances if you're coming or not. They be like, you're not coming. You're over here. You're too passive right now. Or he's definitely coming. He's really loaded up in his stance. He's about to hit the gap. But as long as you can kind of, keep that scheme versatility where anybody can come at any given moment, you can keep going, but you just got to stay healthy. As long as your dogs keep producing, you can do whatever you want to.
Yeah. Ryan, you got to be able to sustain, you got to have a secondary, right? If you can do all the exotic blitzes and, bring the heat all the time, but if those guys in the back end can't hold up, it's because it's easier pitch and catch, right? They can catch a slant, break a tackle, and they're gone. It's touchdown. Right, so you got to have guys in the back end that are comfortable in coveraging under pressure, and you know what I mean. Not a lot of corners are comfortable in being in those type of situations all game, and so you got to have some guys on the back end to sustain that, and then also your looks have, like Shelby said, you got to all try to make it all look the same, right? When we're showing all blitzing, okay, then we're going to drop out our linebackers or drop the safety. We got to all make it look like the same every time. And I got to give Brian Flores credit. They do that, right? They do that. They make the looks look the same. They cause a lot of confusion, right? And he's tough, right? He's tough on quarterback every week. So I think it can be sustained if their secondary is able to live up to the hype for the rest of the year.
Well, I got one question too about the Baltimore Ravens. Are the Baltimore Ravens real? Have they arrived with that win against the Bills?
I think they're starting to figure it out. I'm not going to say they have arrived yet because they still have O-line issues. But they're starting to figure it out. They're starting to find their runs. They're starting to find their niche about how they're going to use Derrick Henry in this offense. Because, you just got to be able to run the ball. And that opens up a whole different game for Lamar Jackson. And like we said before, a couple episodes ago, you have to find shotgun runs that help Derrick Henry because then it still keeps Lamar Jackson alive with the read option. And as long as he can keep getting his yards and keep, being the firecracker that he is, the sky's the limit. But then also they got to get Mark Andrews going. They're doing all this, and Mark Andrews hasn't even gotten going yet. So there's still, their ceiling is still extremely high. The Ravens are still an extremely dangerous offense, an extremely dangerous team, but they haven't even gotten all their stuff together on offense yet. And once they do that, it's going to be hard to stop. But, it's only up from here for the Ravens. It's good when you see a team, when you see the way they did the Bills. The Bills have been bullying everybody else, and they went there and they bullied them.
Right. I think the Ravens are coming on. They're getting better, right? Their offense is getting that identity. Derrick Henry, I think they said he had the third fastest time, right? Only Tyreek Hill's faster than this guy right now, So he was moving out there, and the Bills didn't want to tackle him, right? I'm watching the game. Those corners were not trying to crack their plays. They're just letting them run full speed, off the edge. And you can't do that with Derrick Henry, right? As a corner, when you're playing Derrick Henry or a good run game like that, you got to have your mindset that I got to come up and do my job on crack replays, right? We can't just think as corners that we're just going to cover all game. That's not in the NFL. You got to be a complete and being able to cap this guy and dang tackle Derrick Henry. It really takes all 11 guys.
You can't cut anymore, though. You can't cut. You can't cut some old lineman down anymore. That's against the rules now. That changes the game.
Yeah, so it's a different game, man. So you gotta know the angles and different angles to kind of get around y'all big boys, especially on crack tosses. You know, the game has changed, you know. So only thing I have issues with is the Ravens defense. Even though they play solid versus the Bills, I'm still not sold on those guys yet, on their defense yet. So that's my only issue with the Ravens right there. You know, they got a younger secondary now. That's still, you know, guys are still getting comfortable and gelling. But that would be, and they lost, you know, linebacker to the Steelers.
Patrick Queen.
You know, I think right now the Steelers probably have the number one defense when just watching those guys. Those guys are some beasts right there so far this year. But that's my only thing on the Ravens, that I'm not sold on their defense like they've been. They're not as dominant on that side like they've been in the past. But hey, if you can run the football with Derrick Henry, your defense is only out there for 40 plays, 35 plays. That's a win every week.
Yeah, and that's a win in week 10, week 11, right? Because you got health, you got wealth. I'm happy for the Baltimore Ravens that they won, and I don't buy it for a second. I mean, you had Josh Allen not have a touchdown for the first time since 2021. This man, that's not going to happen again this year. Now, defensively, Chris, I'm so glad you brought it up. The corners were not willing to tackle. And if your corners are not willing to tackle against a run-first offense, it's going to be a long day. And you've got the wrong guys, right? So there was two things that aided in the support of the win for the Ravens. Not Josh Allen not having a single touchdown, never going to happen again this season, and the corners, you know, for the Bills, unwilling to tackle. And that's not going to happen again either, because we've all been embarrassed at one point or another because of our effort. Maybe not Chris Harris Jr., future Hall of Famer, you know, but there have been times when you maybe gave
I've had a poor effort.
Yeah. Okay. One. He had it once.
Shelby, we're not everybody alone. In the league. Everybody in the league's been beat, and you've had a poor effort. You've had a loaf.
Everyone's had a loaf.
Hey, and that's like, talk about the embarrassment of the loaf. Like, let alone, like, you don't care about any fans. You're in that meeting room like, damn, everybody just saw me. I remember Gary Kubiak said in the meeting, goes, and Ryan, this is about effort, isn't it? And I was like, damn, yeah. That's what's happened to that Bills defense now. Now, that's another matchup, to go to Shelby's point, that might happen in the playoffs in January. So that this may not be the last time these two teams meet, but they won't meet in a game where Josh Allen doesn't throw a touchdown or run one in and the defense doesn't want to tackle anybody.
Man, biggest disappointments, the biggest surprises. I got to go. Biggest disappointment, I have to say, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. You pay a quarterback $275 million and you're 0-4. It doesn't seem like there's much positivity around that place at all. Can't run the ball, can't throw the ball. Special teams has been a mess. You know, Jaguars are struggling right now. They had the lead against the Texans. They gave it up late, like literally within the last 45 seconds of the game. You know, I don't see much happiness, much positivity coming from that organization. Now, biggest surprise, gotta be the Commanders. 3-1, huge wins. You know, nobody expected anything of the Commanders. I think they are, you know, a team where their defense led, but then their offense is starting to completely improving every week. You're seeing another layer of that offense is getting better and better and better every week. And we got to play them this week. We have to go to D.C. this week and go play the Commanders, and they're looking good. They're doing everything they need to do. They're attempting to run the ball. They're protecting the ball. They're not turning the ball over. The defense is playing very well. You got Bobby Wagner in the middle of, you know, controlling everything. You know, and then when you have a veteran linebacker up there that just knows the plays before the ball's even snapped, you know, what can you really do? But the Commanders are really, you know, that ascending team where you really got to be worried about them.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, Jaden Daniels, rookie of the year. Jaden Daniels, rookie of the year, not even close. I mean, nobody's doing – maybe Xavier Worthy if he starts popping off with Rashee Rice out and him and Patrick Mahomes can get up. But, I mean, for a rookie quarterback to have the amount of success, quickness, vision that Jaden Daniels has, it's truly remarkable. conversely, we were talking about some receivers that weren't happy earlier. I mean, if you're Terry McLaurin, you're thrilled. You're thrilled at what you got right now, because not only do you have somebody that can get you the ball when you turn on the jets, but they can run against man coverage or double coverage. So Jaden Daniels' ability to run the football will bring a safety away and give more opportunity to the receivers. And then you said it, Shelby. I mean, Bobby, there's no way to put into words for people who didn't play in the NFL what Bobby Wagner does to an offense. He will literally say they're running to the right. They're going to do the jet sweep before the motion even starts. And not to mention, he's 6'5", looks like he's 280 when he's playing. I mean, that man's a monster. So what, and a total team, I'm with you, Shelby, that's a big surprise. And they have a chance now to compete in that division for the title.
Correct. And my biggest disappointment, like Shelby said, I have to agree. Jacksonville, I'll put y'all even in there, Shelby, Cleveland. Right, throw y'all in there because, y'all have number one defense last year, top D-line coming back in, nice secondary. I love 23. He usually plays great. Denzel Ward has been one of the top corners. So I expected y'all to be up there, getting Judy, getting Amari Cooper. Hopefully Chubb comes back healthy. Cleveland, historically, the last couple of years, they've had a solid O-line. So that hadn't been an issue with them. So, and you expect Watson, to try to finally ascend, right? Finally play like he did in Houston, So I thought this would kind of be the year for him, and they just haven't started out fast. And I would say my biggest surprise teams are, of course, the Vikings, starting out undefeated, rolling with Sam Darnold. Commanders playing how they're playing. I don't think they have. I don't think they have like a legit signature win, say, versus a juggernaut team yet. So I'm a hold off a little bit on the Commanders, but they are playing way better, compared to last year. And then I would have one other surprise. I would say the Steelers. Them being 3-1, they're a tough team, right? And they play great defense. Usually Fields, he finally threw an interception, but he's been doing great of protecting the football. And I think they should stay with him. So those would be my top, biggest surprise and biggest disappointments. Jacksonville is definitely head coach probably is going to be fired, because Trevor, if the quarterback's not improving, right, then they usually go to the head coach.
Yeah. So I love Dougie P. I love Dougie P. Doug Peterson's a fantastic coach, but something's broken there.
But what does that fix?
So
what does that fix? How does that firing the coach usually sets the quarterback back?
Well, I think you got to be first. It starts at practice. Like you got to look at the schedule. I mean, half the coaches in the NFL with losing schedules right now are going to lose again because they're not looking at their schedule. Your guys are either worn out, burnt out, working out too much, or not having efficient time, and they're not going to change anything. So, I mean, that's the first thing you got to do. Dougie P, what's the schedule, homie? Right? Like maybe we got to shorten things. Maybe we got to speed things up. Maybe we got to extend a couple periods, but shorten the day. I mean, but you're right, Shelby. Firing a coach seldomly helps. And if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're ahead already. The biggest thing with Jacksonville, though, you guys forget, they had a 21-point lead at home in the playoffs and lost. That team has never been the same since. And that's understandable. It's tough to get out of that.
Right. And when you look at the quarterback situation over there, right, because he hasn't played good at all. He's number one pick overall, right? Well, we say he got one playoff win.
Trevor Lawrence,
right? So that's when you don't – Dougie P is supposed to be an offensive guru, right? So he needs somebody that's going to develop him. He may need somebody that's a young, fresh quarterback coach, or young, fresh, offensive-minded coach. You never know what he needs, but this guy doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like the same prospect that I seen, a surefire 5-star, surefire number one pick. I'm not seeing that. No. I haven't seen it for his whole career, really. I've seen a little spurts of it, but, Trevor Lawrence is something he definitely has to pick it up, because if he was on any other, teams, right, I think he's blessed to play with Jacksonville, because it would be a lot more heat on him on other. If he was in Denver playing like this,
New York,
right? Oh, David already got him up out of there.
Yeah.
Right. It's a whole nother pressure when you're in different cities. So luckily he's in Jacksonville, and Shelby, he can afford somebody to get fired out there. They don't care too much, So
state income tax.
Yeah, so it's hopefully they're able to bounce back and challenge for that division, because that division I think is probably the weakest in the NFL, right? The AFC South.
Yeah, most open for sure.
Right. And let's talk about the news with Christian McCaffrey. Right, it's reported that he has the tendonitis and Achilles tendons in both legs. And, this is something I dealt with, in my career, probably, it probably started like my last 2 years in Denver, right? And I was always going to Dr. V and, Wes and all those guys, Adam, all the guys I was working with, trying to get this, under control. But, after every practice, my Achilles would be swole, waking up in the morning, it would just be swole and tight, irritated. And, I really just had to pray that it didn't pop, and I'm just sitting there talking to Emmanuel. I remember me and Emmanuel was, he was having those same issues, right? And his popped, right? I forgot what year that was, but, I used to be like, man, I'm lucky mine hadn't, popped. And that's an injury. That tendonitis is a injury where only thing that can heal it is not playing at all. Mm-hmm. That's the only way that it can heal, is going in complete rest. And it's you mainly see it with skill players, right? It's not a O-line and D-line thing, because y'all are not on your toes as much, reading, reacting.
Better not be, yeah.
And I'm going backwards, and I'm putting more strain on my Achilles. So it's going to be on more of the skill players, that's going like this. So I would say if Christian really wants to come back healthy and be, and play how he knows how to play, he's gonna have to take the whole year off and completely rest it, from my experience.
You said the whole year?
Yeah. You can play through it. But if he wants to be fully 100% healthy, he's gonna have to completely rest. He can't be cutting and running on it, or he's gonna have to play a game, take a game or 2 games off. They're going to have to manage that throughout the year.
Because this is the last year with Brock Purdy on the rookie deal. Mm-hmm. So, this their window is extremely small right now. You have to really, weigh the pros and cons. Like you said, some people with Achilles tendonitis go out there and they pop it. You just, it gets really inflamed. And as a running back that does everything that he does, as a damn near a slot receiver running back, it's tough. But, the 49ers offense is clearly not the same without Chris McCaffrey as it is with him. So, whatever time he's going to take off, you got to figure it out. But, if you're the 49ers, you definitely got to be stressing about it, because that window is so small, and you're going to have to make some changes next year. You're not going to be able to have all these pieces on your team and paying your quarterback, a way bigger salary. So we're going to have to see what they're going to have to decide to do. But, this 49ers are definitely in a tough situation right now with Christian McCaffrey.
Well, let me just say for Brock Purdy, stay strong in the contract negotiations, because we know what they're going to do to him. Hey, man, we love your numbers, but we don't really know if it's you or Christian. So hopefully he can still get his money. But let's be clear, Christian McCaffrey does not have to play for the 49ers until week 15. This is a playoff team. I don't care how you get there.
Yeah.
You win in the playoffs with Christian McCaffrey and running the football, Kyle Shanahan, but we'll get to that another time. He doesn't need to play. Yeah. Jordan Mason can get the job done. Is he the same as Christian McCaffrey? No, nobody is. And let Christian McCaffrey rest. And I'm with you, Chris. I'm talking about send him to the Caribbean. He's going to work out, but get him somewhere with some nice humidity, some clean fruits. You need a healing time if you're Christian McCaffrey. Give him 2 months off. And then, give him 5 reps a game coming back in November, right? At the end of November. Give him 10 reps a game in December, because you need him January to the second week through that second Sunday of February. He does not need to show up before then. You'll be all right.
Man,
There's no burst. There's no spring when you have this injury, right? Like, every time I would try to plant or say it's something that I don't know a receiver's gonna do, and I have to like strain that Achilles. Y'all don't understand the type of pain. Well, y'all might have had to deal with it sometime, but it's a different type of pain, you know, when you gotta break out of that, you know, and even that running back, his is reading, reacting too, right? So he probably doesn't have that burst at all like he used to, right? So it's just best to rest him until he can get that 100, until he can be 100%. And I seen that they're talking about him going to Germany, right? You know, they're gonna find a way to get Christian McCaffrey on the field, right? Come on, he's in San Fran, right? They're all the technology, everything they have up there in the coast up there, right in the Bay Area. Somebody's got to be able to help this guy.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Let's go pivot. Let's pivot to the college football game. Man, I'm talking about we got CU, Travis Hunter going out there, huge win.
Yes, sir.
Against UCF. Man, the Boise State running back, doggy. Absolute doggy. I haven't seen a running back like that in a long time. And then we obviously got to talk about the 17-year-old playing NCAA 24 out there, just going crazy with the spin moves and just really just changing the game. Chris, this was probably one of the most exciting weekends of college football that we've had in a long time.
Right. I mean, I loved it, man. I love watching Colorado and Shedeur and Travis, and those guys are making plays, man. And they're letting it be known that they should be top 5 players. You know, every week the guy getting the pick, he's unbelievable at receiver and corner. It's you know, it's hard to put a spot on this kid, right? You don't want to put this kid in a bubble. Right, he might just be the outlier. Right, he might just be the LeBron. You know, somebody that can just do it for 20 years. You know, somebody's different, right? And maybe Travis Hunter is that guy, right? So it is what it is, and I don't want to say, you know, there shouldn't be any negativity coming his way, right?
No, yeah.
One, we've never played. You can't say you went out there and played 120 snaps and locked up at corner and receiver, right? Nobody can say that. Right, so only him. So and he's been doing it. So and the running back you said from Boise, like that he's a little short, stocky runner, right? But he's breaking all the tackles. He got great vision. He's averaging 10 yards per carry, right? So he's just not at that big school that he's not getting that notice. So he'd be the only guy I can say that can challenge Hunter for the Heisman, and it's hard not to go against the kid. 10 yards per carry, right? That's that's out of this world. And Ryan Williams, 17 years old. I didn't know he was related to Serena Williams. So, you know, that's that bloodline connection of freaks that they have in the Williams family, you know. And him going out there and dominating Georgia, which Georgia has all 5 stars and 3 guys projected to go to the NFL next year at DB. Right. And he's 17 years old. He was put on a clinic on those guys. Right, so and Jeremiah, I got to talk about him too, because Jeremiah Smith, watching him, he's like a young Julio Jones. Right, he's your big body X, muscle X. You know that you put him on the boundary, and he's going to make numbers in the NFL. Right, he's that guy. Ryan is more of have that burst. He's a scat. He's dynamic with the football. You know, he's a different type of guy than Jeremiah Smith. When y'all watch Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, look at Julio Jones. Or like a Calvin, those big body receivers, Larry Fitzgerald type guys. That's going to be that muscle, that big X in the NFL. So, man, the college football was great this weekend, and you know it's going to continue to get exciting as we can see the college playoffs is going to be more like an NFL type style this year.
Yeah, real quick for me, Alabama beating Georgia. I mean, Jalen Milroe, what's up? Wow, what a performance!
Oh yeah,
I mean that was great. Crazy. Notre Dame getting that win against Louisville. I don't want to hear it from y'all, man. Notre Dame back in that story. Let's go, baby. But what you're seeing in college football are the teams that are willing to work. I mean, this is now a separation period in college football. It happens earlier than it does in the NFL. And you're starting to see that certain players in college can change entire seasons. And you're also starting to see some teams aren't as good as people thought. So exciting time for college football. What do you think, Shelby?
Man, honestly, one of the best games I've seen in a long time was that Alabama-Georgia game. Man, that ending, you can't – here's the fact that Georgia came back from getting mollywopped You know, they were getting their ass beat. But then they start to come back, and then they take the lead. Them boys over there celebrating. Oh yeah, we came back, we got it. First play, 75-yard touchdown, and it just like literally, if you look at all those like the human joystick, that's all he was. It's over here playing around with them, made the DBs run into each other, and then went up there and scored. It was just man. But then I have to. It's a sad day for me. My Wisconsin Badgers had the lead against USC, didn't score in the second half, just fell apart. It was just we're waiting. We're still waiting for Wisconsin to finally figure out this air raid offense that they're supposed to be doing now. But other than that, though, honestly, it was just a great week of college, a great weekend of college football, and it's just it's refreshing when you see that college is back. It's in full swing, and then with this new playoff system, I think you'll see more teams trying to compete late in the season. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see all these kids trying to say they're not playing in the bowl games and all that. When you have that many teams in the playoff, it's an opportunity for anyone to make it. 1 through 14. So I'm excited. I think it was one of the better weekends that we've had of college football.
Yeah. Well, to wrap it up, people may not know, but a lot of us football players also like baseball. And you got 3 baseball fans on this podcast as well. So Shelby Harris, let's talk to the people to wrap our show about the late, great Pete Rose.
Man, it's a travesty that, Pete Rose has been banned from the game for something that's so widely celebrated now, gambling. And, the all-time hits leader, deserves to be in Cooperstown, deserves to be, have his name immortalized. And it's a shame that we couldn't have got this done before he passed away. So, obviously, RIP to, one of the greats. But let's not make this mistake again with Barry Bonds. Let's get our legends into the game. Stop having these writers, because baseball Hall of Fame is controlled by the writers. Let's not have these writers have these vendettas. Why? Because you don't think Barry Bonds is a nice person. Barry Bonds before steroids was a Hall of Fame player. Barry Bonds before steroids was still one of the best hitters in the game. Steroids don't make you hit the ball. You still got to be able to hit the ball. And Pete Rose, obviously, we're talking about one of the great hitters. Barry Bonds is another great hitter. Let's not leave out the greats in this history, and this beautiful history of baseball. Please, Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose too. Let's not leave out any more greats. Let them have their day. They earned it.
Amen. We're gonna let it roll.
Mutombo too. Yeah, we got to shout out Mutombo, Dikembe Mutombo.
Yes.
Him passing. Everybody. Everybody. That's Mutombo. Everybody knows the signature block, man. And he started that. And just him being an ambassador in Africa, and then the things that he was doing over there, building the schools. He was kind of that. Him and Akeem Olajuwon was kind of those faces that were, help building it up and starting that league over there. Now they have like a league and stuff going over there.
Yeah.
And things moving over there. So shout out to Mutombo, man. I think he died of brain cancer, at 58 years old, So I still think that's fairly young, So seeing him pass away like that, man, is definitely tough. Shout out to Pete Rose, too. Like Shelby said, sad to see these guys go down. But it's part of life, man. It's part of the journey that we go through, man. And you got to take every day and live it to the fullest.
You don't get a Joel Embiid, you don't get a Luol Deng without Dikembe Mutombo and Hakeem Olajuwon. So 2 of the all-time.
Right.
100%. And for Dikembe Mutombo, look at what he did for people. The feel, let alone his greatness as a player. And you see the clips of him talking trash to Jordan. He might have been the only one who could talk trash to Jordan now. I mean, that says all you need to know right there. And then the way people responded about Dikembe Mutombo, what he's done for them, the things that none of us saw, the smiles, the photos. I mean, that's the opportunity each and every one of us have to make an impact on others' life. And then with Pete Rose, my big point with Pete Rose is let us never again keep a second chance from someone who's made a mistake, because that's all of us in some way, shape, or form. And and the pain that Pete Rose felt not getting to the Hall of Fame may have been logical or justified. And let's never make a player, let's never make an athlete, let's never make somebody who's great at something, one of the best at what they do, let's never make them feel pain again like that, because we can't forgive a mistake they made. And that goes beyond sports. That goes to life.
Right.
We are the Harrises. Thanks for tuning in this week. Catch us, share all our socials, and make sure, more than anything, to comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.